Now that we understand the design elements and principles, let's put them to work by doing a critique.
A critique simply means a method to analyze something. If I were to show you a design and say, "Do you think this design is effective?" A million different thoughts will race through your head, and you might not know where to start. This is why we have a critique system for analyzing designs. We use the design elements and principles we just learned to achieve this process. I have compiled a critiquing checklist for you in the project downloads. This list is very similar to what an artist might use when critiquing fine art pieces. However, I altered a couple of things so we can use it for critiquing designs as well. I will be critiquing a website located at playgroundinc.com as an example to walk through the critiquing process. But first, let's take a look at our critiquing checklist. Our critiquing checklist is broken down into 4 sections: description, analysis, interpretation, and judgment. Now, as we look at the site, playgroundinc.com, let's take a look at the first section, description. Now, for the description, we simply want to state who created the composition, or in this case, the website, and who is it for. So, Playground Inc. is a digital creative agency, which we can clearly see when we land on the homepage. And this site is geared for their clients or for people who don't understand who the company is and what kind of work they do. So for the description, you simply want to state who created it, what's it for, and we can be specific. So in this case, it's a web application and it's scalable. It goes all the way down to mobile. And depending on the design you're looking at, this can be very literal or it can be very figurative. So that's the description section. Very short, brief, and basically just explaining what we're looking at and who created it. Now the next section, the analysis, we simply want to use our design elements and principles that we just learned and apply them to this critique. Now as we scroll through the homepage, you can see we have very bold headlines with text underneath and nice animated graphics as we go down the page. So I would say that this design is very minimal and animated. So for the style, I would categorize this as a minimal website. Now simply go through our checklist of elements first. So we have line, shape, form, space, color, value, and texture, and so on. So when we look at this site, we can clearly see that they've used a grid as everything's lined up, and they've used a lot of white space to focus in either on the headline or the body text, as well as the illustrations. The illustrations are very minimal, and they're highly interactive when we hover over them. So right there, I've already talked about space, I've talked about line, talked about form. There doesn't seem to be much texture. So if you've covered at least 4 of the elements, you're doing pretty well. So you'll also notice that the colors are very consistent throughout. They have this monochromatic blues that they're using, and almost gray, and they're bright yellow, which you can see in their logo on the top left, as well as in the illustrations. So they're using unity with their colors, and they're using that yellow as a call to action. They're using emphasis on the yellow. And that brings us into our principles of design. So we've talked about contrast, of the contrasting of the colors. We've talked about the movement and the animations, the unity amongst the colors, and emphasis as well. So in the analysis section, all we're really doing is stating how they've used the elements and principles of design. Whether they're effective or not, we're simply stating the ones that stand out to us the most. Our third section is interpretation. All we want to do here is state the intention of the composition and how we feel they were influenced in creating this design, and why do we feel that way. So looking at our example, I feel the intent of this website was to simply show off their work, tell a little bit about the company and their process. As you can see in the work section, they've comprised a lot of their work that they've done in the past. And again, they're using a lot of space. It's very easy to read as all of the content is grouped together. Down here, we can see the team. So the intent for this is to simply show off their work and get to know them as a company. I feel that they were influenced by typography and a minimal approach using a lot of white space. Now, the fourth section is judgment. This is where we can put our personal feelings and opinions into the piece. So, did they accomplish what they were intended to do and why? I personally feel they did a great job showing off their work and allowing us to get to know them and their process. Our next question is, what do we like about the work? Well, I stated that before. I feel they've done a great job using color, shape, using a grid, making sure everything's lined up, grouping the content together so it's easily digested, using that bright color of call to action. Notice how we went to the work page and the logo changed green, and so did the fave icon. Although, it's still within the same color palette throughout the whole site. If we go to company, it's red, and the journal is a light blue. So I feel they've done a great job with this site. Also, they've done some cutting edge stuff as well. If you remember the animations on the home page, this is all done through JavaScript, which is really cool. They're probably one of the first companies to really incorporate this technology into their site. And then next, what do I not like about the work? I feel the only thing I could say that I don't like about it is when we go to journal and work, there's no thumbnails to the actual work that they've done. It'd be nice to see a thumbnail of, the Canada Goose, just so we can get an idea of what type of work it was. It simply just says view case study. So perhaps, maybe there's a thumbnail of the site on there so we can view it. And the same goes for journal. It'd be great if there was some sort of visual indicator of what it's about. But besides that, that's all I changed. I feel that this site is a well-designed site and they successfully completed what they intended to do. So that's how we use the critique checklist when viewing a design. Now we can use this for anything such as a mobile game, any type of design that you create. Simply use this checklist to go through to see if the design is effective or ineffective and what can be changed.
The process of critiquing can be applied to any design. This is just one more skill you can add to your future design process. Before moving on to the next stage, let's take a quick quiz.